When Star Wars was released in 1977, George Lucas was unsure whether the film would be a success, or at least successful enough to produce a sequel. Fortunately for him, Star Wars became a global phenomenon, and 3 years later, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back was released, directed by Irvin Kershner. While it received some mixed reviews upon release, The Empire Strikes Back has since gained a reputation as not only one of the greatest sequels of all time, but also a reputation as the greatest Star Wars film. Welcome back to ADP Reviews, everyone, and we're continuing our Star Wars review marathon. I'll admit that even though I love this movie, it's never been my favorite of the original trilogy. But whenever I tell other Star Wars fans this, I get some very puzzled looks. How could this not be my favorite? Am I just a contrarian? Or is there something I'm missing? Let's take a look at the story. After the destruction of the Death Star, the Rebel Alliance has gone into hiding on the ice planet Hoth.
I don't know why they call it Hoth. They should call it Cold.
Their safety is short-lived, however, as the Empire manages to locate their hidden base and sends their forces to eradicate them. Our heroes escape, however, while Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, and C-3PO try their hardest to evade the pursuing Empire in the Millennium Falcon. Luke Skywalker travels to the Dagobah system after being told by his fallen master Obi-Wan to seek out Yoda, a wise Jedi Master who will train him in the ways of the Force. All the while, Darth Vader is plotting a scheme to capture our heroes and lure Luke Skywalker to the dark side. Will he succeed, or will Luke Skywalker vanquish this evil foe? So, what do I like about this movie? First of all, the tone of the film is much different from the first movie. A New Hope has its dark moments and perilous dangers, but there's always a sense that the good guys will make it out in the end. There's a sense of lighthearted adventure throughout the movie. The Empire Strikes Back, on the other hand, is far darker. You legitimately feel the panic and the crushing pursuit of the Empire as they pursue Luke, Han, and the others. Every time it seems like things are going their way, something goes wrong. The shadow, the lighting, the colors, everything about this film contributes to a far darker and more mature story than the first film. Second, the effects in this movie are perfect. Where A New Hope seems a bit more dated in its effects the more I watch it, The Empire Strikes Back nails absolutely every explosion, laser, lightsaber, and sound effect. It's also far more consistent in terms of quality in its effects. A New Hope has some effects that looked incredible, whereas others tend to look more and more fake as time goes by. Almost every special effect in this film is perfectly executed. Third, the actors are all at their best in this film. Every actor is perfect in this movie, but Mark Hamill especially grows into the role of Luke Skywalker. In the first film, his acting was kind of hit or miss. In Empire, he's more complex, and you genuinely worry that he may fall to the dark side, or that Vader will kill him. And a lot of that is shown through just how well he moves and acts as Luke. He can pull off exhausted, sad, happy, distraught, and angry, all without missing a beat. Fourth, it's probably the best written of the Star Wars movies. Every Star Wars film has continuity errors, inconsistencies, and writing mistakes, but the creativity and imagination keeps us coming back. You don't always need the best writing to have an enjoyable movie, but with that said, Empire probably has the least mistakes in terms of its writing, aside from a few pet peeves that I'll address later. Also, I will acknowledge that the Imperial March is one of John Williams' greatest compositions. So far, I've given this film a glowing review. Does that mean it's perfect? To be honest, I don't think so. For one thing, the Empire, although far more intimidating in this film, are still pretty incompetent. The Falcon manages to escape them several times, and on top of that, they made the brilliant idea of bringing giant, slow-moving tanks on stilts that can easily be tripped and destroyed. Add to that the fact that the stormtroopers still can't hit a thing, and you're looking at a pretty lame force of evil. Also, even though there aren't a ton of plot holes in this movie, there are a few things that make me question these characters' actions. For one thing, on Hoth, Luke is brought inside the snow creature's cave after it attacks him. He manages to grab his lightsaber and free himself. He then slices off the creature's arm and runs out of the cave and into a blizzard. Well, why didn't he just kill the creature and spend the night in the cave where it would be warmer and he'd have shelter from the storm? Also, when the Falcon is hiding inside of an asteroid, how are Han, Leia, and Chewie able to walk outside of the ship using nothing but small oxygen tanks? There's still the matter of a lack of atmosphere inside the asteroid. That just never made sense to me. Also, when the rebels evacuate Hoth, they have literally infinite directions in which to flee, yet for some reason they all fly in the direction of the Imperial Star Destroyers. Seems like a pretty piss-poor decision to me. But my biggest problem with this movie is the timeline. In the movie, Luke's training and the flight of the Falcon to Cloud City are supposedly taking place at the same time. The movie shoots this as though it takes place over a few days, maybe a week. But if that's the case, Luke was training with Yoda for only a few days to a week, and yet somehow Luke's abilities in those few days accelerated rapidly to the point where he's holding his own against Darth Vader. You could make an argument that this takes place over a month or so, seeing as how the Falcon has a broken hyperdrive, and it might be taking them weeks to get to Cloud City. But even then, how much fuel and supplies does the Millennium Falcon have? Can it support the 3 passengers that need to eat? And Luke would still only have been training for a month, whereas Darth Vader is a highly proficient swordsman and extremely skilled with the Force. And even if you make this assumption, the film itself never clarifies how long this period of time is supposed to be, so it's just kind of a mess. But in all honesty, a lot of this is just nitpicking. The Empire Strikes Back is still a phenomenal film with tremendous atmosphere, a fantastic score, and great acting. And if we're speaking in terms of how well crafted these films are, maybe it is the best. I haven't even discussed some of my favorite moments in this film. The lightsaber duel on Bespin, the Falcon evading the Empire, which even though it's dragged out a bit, it's still very impressive to see, especially with the updated effects. The budget for The Empire Strikes Back was much higher than the budget for A New Hope, so they really got to go all out with the effects work in this film. Also, Yoda is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and his introduction here is perfect. It's really a tale of don't trust your eyes. Luke takes one look at Yoda and he thinks, oh, this is some weird little alien. This isn't who I'm looking for. But this weird little alien goes on to prove himself to be far stronger than Luke could ever imagine. Also, this film has, hands down, the greatest twist in cinema history. It's one that's constantly referenced in popular culture and in groups of friends. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but needless to say, when you see it, you're going to say, oh, that's where it came from. So yeah, The Empire Strikes Back isn't my favorite movie of the original trilogy, but we'll get to that one next time. With that said, just in terms of how it's crafted, I will say Empire Strikes Back still stands above any of the other films in just how well it's crafted and put together. I give Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back 4 stars out of 5. It's a great film and one of the greatest sequels of all time. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more of the Star Wars Review Marathon.